I guarantee that you've never written stories like this. If you've been using Storybook only as a documentation tool, you may be missing out on one of its coolest features, component testing. In this video, you'll learn how to write component tests using play functions. Play functions are Storybook's way of describing stories with user events and interactions. With play functions, you describe UI not only as a product of props and state, but as a result of clicks and key presses. Enough with the why and the what, let's learn how. Hey, I'm Chantastic, a Storybook engineer, and I'm here to help you become a Storybook pro. If you'd like to level up your UI engineering game, subscribe for tips and tutorials from me. As of version 6.5, Storybook comes bundled with the Interactions add-on. Let's take a look at what it does. I have a fresh installation of Storybook 6.5 with the sample stories. When we open the add-on drawer, we see the Interactions panel. This story doesn't have interactions, so this panel is empty. But when we navigate to the page logged in story, we see one successful interaction. Let's open this file in an editor and see how it works. In this story file, we have a logged out story with no play function, and therefore no interactions. And below it, we have a logged in story with interactions. This play function takes our canvas element as an argument, sets a scope for testing library interactions using the within function that we get from Storybook testing library. It then locates the login button, and finally it simulates a user click event on that login button. We can make this interaction fail by changing the query. When we save this, we notice a few things. First, the interaction fails. We get a really helpful error describing what failed in the interaction. And we notice that the story is no longer able to get into that logged out state that we saw post interaction. It's stuck in the same default state that logged out is. If we go back to code and fix this interaction, we see that we get back to that post interaction state. Let's write component tests for a highly interactive component. I've added an example component to this project from the famous Thinking in React tutorial on the React.js doc site. This sample component provides two ways of filtering this list of fruits and vegetables. We'll write component tests for both of these interactions. Back in our editor, we'll create a new file, name this to match our component. I'll paste the boilerplate for this component story file, hit save, and we'll see that component show up in our sidebar. To add component tests, let's import within and user events from Storybook testing library. Then we'll create a new story. We'll name this only available. On only available, add a play property. That property is going to be an async function. It'll destructure the canvas element and run a function block. We'll set a scope on a canvas variable, use within, and give it canvas element. Then we need to find this button. In this case, we can use the label text to hunt this button down. Paste that in. And then we'll write our testing library query around it. Const only show available button equals await canvas.get by label text. Finally, user event.click on the only show available button. Hit save, and now we have a new story. When we click on that story, we see that our one interaction was successful, and this story reflects the interactive state. Let's write another component test, this time using the search input to search for the word fragment fruit. I'm gonna grab this whole thing so we don't have to write that again. Change the story name. Let's call this one search fruit. Now, capturing the canvas is going to be the same, but these two things will for certain change. This time we want to interact with this search input, and we can find it by using the placeholder text. Const search input equals await canvas.get by placeholder text, the string search with 3 periods. Once we have that element, we can click on it, user event.click. We'll use our search input. Then we'll do a second user event, which is to use the keyboard, and type the word fruit. Save that, and now we have a third story. This one has 2 successful interactions, and we see that the word fruit is input into the search input, changing the list. We can use play functions to create stories for any action a user might take. And as we jump between stories, we can see all of the interactions that create that story state. We can now add assertions to Storybook component testing using Storybook Jest. First, kill the Storybook server with Control-C, run yarn add dev at Storybook Jest. Then run Storybook again with yarn Storybook. Jump back into our code and import the expect named export from Storybook Jest. Finally, we can add assertions to each of our play functions. Expect await canvas dot get all by roll row dot length to be, and we don't know, so I'll just say 0 for now. Go to the story that has that function on it, and we have 7 rows. So I'll put 7 in there. And now this assertion passes. So that's it. That's how you use the Interaction add-on to add component testing to Storybook. If you have questions about component testing in Storybook with play functions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. Even better yet, there's way smarter people than me in the Discord server. We now have almost 15,000 amazing Storybook users, and we'd love for you to join us there. Now, this video is just the tip of the iceberg on component testing, and I'd be remiss not to point you to our documentation. So if you have questions, I've included links to everything that we covered today in the description below. If you like this video, or you just like hanging out with me, I have another video that you might like on Storybook viewports and using them to test all of the viewports that are most important to your application. But that's it for today. I'm Chantastic. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.